Hello, and welcome to another Steel Division Divisional overview. And today we're taking a look at the 16th Luftwaffe Failed Division, the result of what's happening if you need a bunch of troops because you're losing a two-front war, and so you get a bunch of aircraft mechanics and personnel and put them in frontline service. The result is not anything all great. This is definitely a very bizarre division. There's a lot of weird and out-of-date units within service reviews, guys. It's not the best thing in the bloody world, but it's funny for the memes. This is definitely a bit of a meme. It's a very memey division, I'd have to say. I mean, if you think of, just history in general, you think divisions in Normandy, you got 21st Panzer, 12th SS, 3rd Canadian, Guards Armoured, 101st, all the big names, all the guys with fame and glory. But hey, we got this thing, which did things, sort of. It didn't do too much, and this guy was leader of it. Anyway, enough rambling, let's get into the actual gameplay mechanics of the economy. 100 points in A phase, 115 B phase, and 100 points in C phase. So the first 20 minutes is very good, and then it goes down pretty low into C. It's not too bad, as a lot of units are pretty cheap. You got 40 activation points, which is a healthy amount. And in terms of slots, lots of infantry, anti-air and aircraft, and everything else is pretty standard. So if we jump into recon, there's only two types of recon units you can get: Luftwaffe Auxiliaries and Luftwaffe Fusiliers. These are both pretty nice, as for the majority of Luftwaffe infantry, they are disheartened, as we're going to see. These guys aren't, because they're recon infantry. You can't have the recon thing in the top left corner of the card, as well as the disheartened thing. It's just not possible, I guess. So you're not disheartened, which is nice. The Auxiliaries are pretty much the same as regular Auxiliaries. You got the option with this weird French half-track with machine gun, German modification, as well as a Kupol MG option. This is the better option because it's armoured, and you can get it in any phase. I don't really get why I'd want to get the B phase card, to be entirely honest. Really, why do you want to get it? It costs the same points as this. I mean, you get one less, but you get it earlier, and it's definitely a bit weird. And then you got Luftwaffe Fusiliers in the A and B phase. These are similar to your regular Fusiliers, but they have worse equipment, which is another common trait with a lot of these Luftwaffe infantry. Instead of MP40s, you got MP28. Instead of MG34s, you got MG15s, which isn't a Rotor 1 machine gun, mind you. It's just an aircraft machine gun, like the one you'd see on the back of a Junkers, for example. As well as a Faust Patron, which is worse than a Panzerfaust, but it still blows up tanks. It's not too bad. These are pretty good, and considering really your only proper infantry units aren't disheartened, nice. These are your special forces troops for this division. Your top of the pops. Yeah, it's not the best thing. Infantry, there's really not a lot of options either. Your command infantry is this Luftwaffe Furies. You get them in A and B phase. They're nothing that fancy. They got smoke grenades, which is nice. And your two main infantry options are Luftwaffe Jaegers and Luftwaffe Pioneers. Jaegers are similar to a Grenadier squad. The Grenadier squad that had the Panzerfaust, but with worse equipment. Luftwaffe Pioneers, the same thing, but with worse equipment. Worse equipment. They got the worse. Well, the submachine gun's the same, so it's the MG15. That's not as good as the MG34, if I do recall. They're not that great. They're cheap, which is very nice, but they're disheartened. They have no veterancy. They die pretty quickly against regular infantry, but they can hold your own rather well if you're using them in a defensive role inside a building or etc. Just because you're defending, you have the advantage. So nice, cheap, they're plentiful. You can get a decent amount. It's just not all that bad. And you got Luftwaffe MG34s, which are okay. They're not bad. It's an MG34. You get quite a lot of them. But then you get the MG271/F, or the 13mm Hotchkiss machine gun. This is a really good unit. This is a very nice machine gun to have in this division. As this is a division that's very good on the defense, which makes sense historically, but in game you're going to be using these guys to defend an area. It's the whole division in total, but especially its machine guns. As this is essentially a German 50 cal, You can kill lightly armoured vehicles such as half-tracks with this, which is nice, and it will reach out at range and do a lot of damage. And you get a plentiful amount of imp per card as well. So, for a division that's good in defense, having some very heavy machine guns such as this is always favourable. You can't exactly say no to that. Oh god, the tanks. The tanks. They're not even really tanks. You got FT-17s, World War I tanks, World War I tanks in a World War II game. I never would have thunk. Imagine if there was like a British Home Guard division, still using Mark I tanks. It would be ridiculous. But here we are, with World War I French tanks being used by the Germans. You got the run of the machine gun and run of the cannon. They're very cheap. If you ever played Wargame Red Dragon, this is pretty much your equivalent of T-34 spam. But they're not that good. Like, statistically, armor and, like, weaponry rise, it's really not that bad. 10 points for a 2-armored vehicle with a machine gun? That's pretty much just a half-track at that point. And the same thing with this, 2 armor and a cannon for 20 points. Considering that a Renault 35 is 40 points and it only has 2 extra frontal armor, that's not that bad. That's pretty good. This thing can kill those lightly armored half-tracks. And all you have to do is kill 1 or 2 and you paid yourself off. But the real problem with using them is their on-road speed. 18 kilometers an hour on the road. I believe the King Tiger's faster than that off-road. These are the slowest units in game. Extremely, extremely slow. If you buy one of these, it will take 4 to 5 minutes to get to the front line, and that is not an exaggeration. So you need to think way in advance before you bring them on the front line, and good luck attacking with these. So they're not really that useful. I've had success using them in the close combat mode, where you start closer and just like buy a bunch, just to like overwhelm the enemies with a bunch of cheap armor, but that's really it. You're not really that good. It's just so bloody slow. If you could tow them behind something and get them to the front line, then it might be worth it, but because you have to wait 5 minutes, it's just not. But it's funny, these are bloody World War I tanks. I still cannot get over that. I still not get over that. But this is what happens when you are really scraping the bottom of the barrel. B-phase. You got Snug FH in singular 1 cards only. Not exactly the most efficient tank card or the best tank in game. C-phase, you got command Stugs, which is nice. Your only vehicle that has command. It's the only vehicle in this division that has command. You've seen all the command units you can get, and you do not get a lot of them. So this Stug is, I'd say, pretty important, as you do want a bit of extra command. And it's also a tank that has veteran chief, so it's not too bad. And then finally some Stug 3Gs with ×3 per card, which isn't terrible. Yeah, the tank tabs, it's awful. It's really bad. It's really bloody bad. Probably one of the worst in game. And it's a shame because the Stugs could be rather decent if they weren't so goddamn pricey. Like, Stug F8 should be 20 points cheaper at least, and same with the Stug 3G. These are not worth the price tag yet they're asking for. An absolute rip-off, which they're saying. Because, the Stug 3 is one of the most mass-produced vehicles that the Germans produced in the Second World War. Or tank-style vehicle, I should say. So it should definitely be a bit more on the cheaper side. Support is nothing great. You can get some flamethrower troops in A and B phase. They're actually pretty useful. The A phase flamethrowers is you got some CQC troops. Yes, you got pioneers, but these guys have smoke and they're pretty cheap. And they're flamethrowers, so once the flamethrower hits something, the target gets pretty crispy. Yeah. And you got the Raid French thing again, but this time it has a Hotchkiss on it. I used to think this was a pretty good unit, but it's not, because if we look at it compared to the tripod-mounted Hotchkiss, the machine gun's much worse. It shoots slower, less HE, you got less amp, you got much less ammunition. It is armoured and it is on a mobile chassis, which is nice, and you can get it in the A phase, but I just don't really think it's worth the card if you can just later on and get a much better version of said machine gun. And then, yes, it can't even really kill light armor because it doesn't have as much HE, so it's really only good against infantry. And you don't really need stuff to kill infantry. You already got, some stuff to kill infantry with, so yeah, you can pass this in my book. You get a lot of supply trucks, which is nice. You got bunch of supplies, especially in sea phase. Jesus Christ, you would never need to take this card, but if you really want to be, the Santa Claus on a team game, giving out free high explosive shells, and go for it. Then some Su-42s, which is actually pretty good. I mean, Stu's are nice fire support tanks. You can never really go wrong with the Stu. Yeah. Nothing really too great here. Anti-tank is also really not good. So you got Luftwaffe Panzers Rex. They are disheartened, but the disheartened thing really doesn't matter. It's not like, during frontline fighting with them, you're just shooting a Panzers Rex and running away. And the disheartened doesn't worsen the accuracy. It only makes them more easily suppressed. Which gets a big of a deal if you get spotted and you're trying to get the second shot off. But yeah, it's not that big of a deal. Well, it is a big of a deal because you don't have any veterancy. I had some instances where Luftwaffe Panzers Rex keep missing. I remember one time I was playing a match and I missed against goddamn Abrams 3 times. Not an Abrams tank, but Creighton Abrams, the 4th Armoured hero unit in the M4 Sherman. So it can be a bit hit or miss with the Panzers Rex. And these are one of the most reliable anti-tank weapons throughout the early stages of the game. And he got the Panzerjäger Bren, which, I mean, look at it. Just look at it. It's actually not that bad of a vehicle, to be entirely honest. It's definitely not the best thing in the world with only 1 armor and 5 AP, but it shoots decently fast, and if you manage to, only fight against half-tracks and Humbers, etc., you can fare rather well. It's just not that great against anything else. And only 2 Pak 38s in A-phase with no veterancy. Pak 38s are already bad, especially when they have no veterancy, but only getting 2 of them in a division that doesn't have much else. In terms of 18 the other tabs, I mean, you're actually going to get your anti-air. It's not great. And in B-phase, oh boy, you can get Pak 38 with ×3, or you can get Pak 40s in single cards. Oh boy. And in C-phase, more Pak 38s. Finally, you get some Pak 38s with 1-star veterancy, and then a decent card of Pak 40s in a ×3. It's a really pathetic anti-tank tab. I mean, it doesn't help that none of the anti-tank guns, apart from this thing, have any veterancy, as you really do need the veterancy in my book to make these guns really worth their rate, especially the Pak 40. Especially the Pak 40. Even if it has just 1-star veterancy on it, it would definitely make it a much better card to take, as you could boost up to ×2 veterancy, and a 2 veterancy Pak 40. It's pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. Now, anti-air is where we finally see, a sign in light, because holy moly, this is one of the best anti-air tabs in the game. All the units are veteran. All the units are good equipment, except for, even this thing's actually not that bad, mind you. And you get quite a decent amount of it. Not a ton to spam per se. I mean, you get like ×2 mostly with a lot of these cards, but you're going to be taking a lot of the ×1 cards, to be frank. So it's not like you can spam anti-air, but you get quality over quantity of here. So you got the Flak Panzer Bren, which honestly isn't that bad. It's a 20 mil on top of a Bren thing. Now, considering that the regular 20 mil is already only 40 points, you're essentially getting it on a mobile chassis for free. So that's pretty good. That's actually pretty good. And it's a nice fire support vehicle in A-phase. It even has an extra machine gun, which is nice. And it's an MG34 and not a Bren. So should this be called the Flak Panzer MG34? Or, yeah, MG34. You got Flak Verkelins with 1-star veterancy, and then Flak 43s. Now, these Flak 43s, I mean, they look similar to the Flak 36 37mm, but these are much better. They shoot faster, and they do 13 HE compared to the 10 HE of the Flak 36s. That's probably a bit more expensive, but you're definitely getting your money's worth of this. Like, I've seen, no, I haven't seen a single one shoot down an aeroplane, but I've seen them scare off Spitfires and Mustangs and other fighters extremely quickly by itself. This is a very effective anti-air piece. And then we got a bunch of flak 88. They're only the 36 model and not the better 41 model. It has 16 AP, but they're flak 88 to get 1 per card in A phase of 1 star. In B phase you only get 1 per card still, but 2 star veteran machine, and C phase you get much more, many more flak 88s. The flak 88s are pretty good. They're also your best anti-tank weapon in game, but we're gonna get to that later. In B phase, we got this thing, which is an armored tactical truck with a flak 43 37mm on the back. This is pretty good. This is a pretty good vehicle. It's just spot mobile. What's not to love? And it has wooden logs on the front. They definitely took some cues from Russian armor schemes by putting logs everywhere to give it, just a bit of front armor on the front. I know, right, but it seems like a vehicle that'd be in armor 3 for some reason. It's just the weird blockiness of it. But nonetheless, we got the NAG 4500 Draylen, which is kind of like a flag civilian, not on steroids, but on some sort of performance enhancing drugs. It's not a huge difference. Okay, it's actually a pretty huge difference. It's got ridiculous rate of fire. It's even got a 4-digit rate of fire. I don't really think as many units in game it has a 4-digit rate of fire. I think this might be the only one. But anyway, it does a shit ton of damage at close range. This thing will just shoot stuff down if it get close enough. The problem is it's on an unarmored mobile chassis. I mean, it's on a mobile chassis, so it will get counter batteried or blown up or shot by an AT gun if it gets close. If it gets too close to the front line, a bit easy. But heck, it's got a bunch of 15mm machine guns in the back, so what's not to love? I mean, this is essentially like part of an I think he's actually used on naval ships, just on the back of a truck. And then we got the big boy, the double barreled Kit Kat, the flag civilian 37mm, because we have one 37mm when you can just have 2 of them strapped on top of each other, and this is the best anti-aircraft unit in the game by far, because it does 24 HE damage. 24 HE damage. All you need is one of these, and it will just shoot down pretty much anything that gets in close enough. It's deadly. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're not going to get many of these guys within your deck. You really don't get a lot of them. But they can cover an entire flank by themselves. They're a one-man anti-aircraft killing machine. They're really good. They're really bloody good. I cannot state that enough. And it's just so simple. You just stick 2. Now imagine if we had 4 of these strapped together like a flag civilian. That'd be really crazy. Probably be really broken, but heck, it'd be funny. Artillery is pretty mediocre. It's a lot of captured Russian equipment. You got Luftwaffe mortars, Luftwaffe 80mm mortars. You got these are 50s or 80, and you got some Luftwaffe 120mm mortars. Pretty standard stuff. And not disheartened, which is nice, because you can't have a disheartened thing at the top left if you have an indirect icon. But then we have FK288, and then this thing. I believe this is a ZIS free gun or something similar, and this is the heavier. I can't remember the name on the top of my head. I'll probably put it in somewhere over here right about now in edit. Nonetheless, these are both pretty decent. This thing shoots pretty fast. It's nice for 100 points. They're cheap. They have good range. Not the best HE damage, but heck. And this thing is a pretty beefy artillery piece. With 23 HE, it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good, both of these pieces. And they could also act as anti-tank guns. They're not ideal anti-tank guns, mind you. That's actually quite funny. This thing does have the 1.2 kilometer range. And this is actually a pretty good anti-tank gun. Because of the extra range that it has. I thought each one had a 1 kilometer, but I believe it's the Luftwaffe version of this that only has 1 kilometer range. Still not the best thing in the road, but considering what you have available on the anti-tank tab, you really can't be, too picky. This is pretty good, as, 14 AP damage, that's good. You only have 10 shots or 15 shots in this run. So yeah, you got a lot of artillery. It's all soft targets though, so you will get counter-batteried pretty easy if you don't, spread out your artillery parks. You're gonna want to spread them out. The air tab is also where things get pretty interesting. There are no dedicated fighters within your air tab, which is rather weird considering this is it's a very air-focused division. But you do have some things to fill in the gap. You got the A phase, off-map artillery stalks shooting 173mm, or calling in 173mm off-map artillery. I don't really find either off-map artillery stalks to be entirely useful, as they're such a high priority target and they get shot down pretty easy from ground fire or from just a single airplane coming in. So you can always get at least one shot off, but you can never be certain that you can get all 3 charges off. In the A phase run, you can do that, but yeah, I still think it's a little bit too risky. At least for like a ground unit of an off-map, you can charge it up to road, call on your off-map, and then just run away back to your behind your lines. Yes, it's just not out survivable. This one, the C phase one, shoots bigger artillery off-map, but still nothing entirely great in my mind. You got these Messerschmitts that drop 250 kilogram bombs. Yeah, alright. This is pretty alright. Good at dealing with AT guns, emplacements, etc. because it's a rather big bomb for the aircraft. It can also act as a fighter. It's not the best fighter in the world. It does have worse agility, and it has less of an armament compared to the G6 Messerschmitt. You got 1B1 and then 1B3. Only one of each. They're not really the best things to use, as they die pretty easily. A real lot of B1s or B3s are pretty stupid rays, and so it's very risky considering you only get one each, and how unreliable they can be in killing tanks. Because we also all had gun runs with B1s or B3s where we shoot a goddamn Abrams like 6 times with a B3, and they all miss, or one of them bounces for some goddamn reason. So, yeah, they're not the best things in the road to rely on. What are reliable, are these goddamn Focke-Wulfs. And you know they're reliable because they've got a rather scary looking snake, because they're going to be shooting some scary looking rockets. This is essentially the Focke-Wulf rocket equivalent of the Messerschmitt rocket plane. But this is really good, because it also acts as a decent fighter, because it has the same amount of armament as the other Focke-Wulf fighter. And the rockets are very bloody good at blowing up stuff. It's a little bit slower, I believe. It is a little bit slower than the Focke-Wulf fighter planes, but it's a pretty cost-effective aircraft. And considering you don't have any proper fighters, you beggars can't be choosers. This is your effective fighter aircraft. It's a bit expensive at 200 points, but considering B phase, you get 150 points a tick. It's not too bad. Then we got the big boys, the Ju-188. Damn, it's a bit of a voice crack, I apologise. There's 2 different types. You got the regular type, that drops 28 50 kilogram bombs. This is a carpet bomber. It's like a image of the B-2 stealth bomber, or B-52 dropping a bunch of bombs. I remember from Command & Conquer Generals. This is essentially it will just carpet bomb an area. Won't exactly kill tanks or anything armoured, but it will definitely stun them up. You get them in singular cards in B phase, and C phase you get them in ×2. And then we get the ridiculous bad boy, the Ju-188 2-star veterancy with 2 bloody big runs, 2 1,000 kilogram bombs. This is the heaviest payload of any bomber in game, just in terms of single bombs. You can kill tanks with this. You can blow up Sherman with this. It's really entertaining. And because it has high veterancy, it won't get dissuaded from anti-aircraft fire as much. And yeah, you can use this to just blow up an area. If you've played Wargame Red Dragon, this is essentially the Steel Division equivalent of the B5 / IL-28 with the 3,000 kilogram bomb. This is a very, very big bomber. Drops big booms. The nice thing about G188 compared to the regular 88 is it got a pretty decent defensive armament. 3 13mm and 1 20mm cannon for defense. So I have actually seen these shoot down aircraft. I mean, you don't want to be using them to shoot down aircraft, but if you're getting chased down by one and it's heavily damaged, you can usually ward them off. So you see the 2-star version of the Ju-188. The big problem with this aircraft, Joe, is it has a very long reload time. I think it's like 5 minutes or something like that, 4 to 5 minutes. So you definitely want to make sure that you bomb the correct target. Because by the time you get 1 or 2 of these guys out, it's probably only going to be anywhere from 20 minutes if you've been saving a lot of points till the start of B phase, till the end of B phase, or last 10 minutes of the match. You're only going to get 2, maybe 3 bombing runs with the J188, so you definitely want to make it worth your while. And considering it's the most expensive bomber in game as well, you really want to make it worth your while. So, if you're out of range, let's take a look at a deck I built earlier. Once again, the deck code will be in the description below. And I do want to make the point, this deck here is pretty much specifically built for team games, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. The deck I'm going to show you later on for the replay is more of a 1v1 deck. Recon, 1-2-man squad with the French half drag thing, and then for now it's just Fusiliers, because they also act as decent infantry. A bit expensive for regular infantry, but, they're not disheartened, which is nice. For infantry, A phase Luftwaffe Führer, and then B phase Luftwaffe Führer, you want to take 2 cards of Luftwaffe Führers. You pretty much need to, because you're not going to get much leader units anywhere else. 1 A phase Luftwaffe Jäger, 1 A phase Luftwaffe Pioneer, B phase, same thing, 1 Jäger, 1 Pioneer, and then both of these MG27s. Reason being, we're going to be defending with this division. This is a deck designed for team games, where you're pretty much playing as support, where you're going to be defending. And so, might as well have all these really good defensive machine guns that can shoot shit that gets too close. And these are very good in that role. Tank tab, none of the FC-17s as take too long to get to the front line, but we're going to be taking the C-phase Stooks, one of the command and one of the regular. You're probably not going to even be able to afford all of these, but it's nice as having the option between the two. Support, A-phase Flammenwerfer, just for, the extra help in towns and etc. I mean, you can never really go wrong with a flamethrower. 1 A-phase and 1 B-phase supply truck, you really don't need more than that. And then both stews, because by God, we're going to want as much armor as we can, as we already are pretty armor deprived. Anti-tank, this is going to seem really weird how my anti-tank tab is very sparse, but we'll get to that a little bit later as well. 2 Panzer Strike cards, the Panzerjäger Bren, and then the Pack 38. It's really just A-phase AT weaponry. The reason being is, these Pack 40s, they're nice, and you feel like you need them, because they're your only proper AT weaponry. I mean, yes, you got the Flak 88s, but the problem with the Flak 88 is you can't hide it in a forest, and they take more damage versus ground targets. Because it's an anti-aircraft unit, anti-aircraft units take 50% less damage against aeroplane attacks, but they take 50% more damage against anything else, essentially. And so, they usually get stunned up pretty quickly when using them on a frontline role. So you may feel like you want to get the Pack 40s, and you can, but I still don't think it's worthwhile, because they have no bloody veterancy. They always bloody miss. I always want at least 1-star veterancy with an AT gun. And you don't really get it apart from these Pack 38s that come in way too late. Anti-air, we're going to fill it up to the brim, because by God, we're going to need it. Flak Panzers for support, Flak Verslin for some nice AA. We're not going to be using any of these, because we have these Nag runs, so these are still a good card. A phase 88, B phase 88, and C phase 88, as well as the Flag Z Velin. It's a lot of anti-air. You don't get enough 88s to reliably spam. If you do use your 88s as frontline fighting units in this deck, you're gonna run out. You are going to run out. You want to be more conservative with them. You want to be using them as anti-aircraft units and not as anti-tank units, as you can't really afford to lose them. At the same time, the Catch-22s, you kind of need him to be anti-tank units because you don't have many anti-tank units as well. So it's a real double-edged sword, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I've been saying that a lot. Artillery, two of these FK-28 288 cards, and then the C phase of the heavy artillery pieces. These are going to be your more reliable anti-tank pieces. I do actually end up using these guys in A and B phases, anti-tank guns, as they're not terrible in that role. But they also don't become good artillery in the road, so on the front line, and they're just going to get stunned up. You know, it's nice as well, having the artillery unit so close, because you can just, barrage anything. But it's still a bit weird. You got a lot of artillery, or you can artillery spam the hell out of an area. In the aeroplane tab, all the Messerschmitts, all the Fonkerovs, and then only two J188s, the C phase ones. Pretty much the reason being behind this deck is that this division is very good in team games. Actually, we're just going to get to the pros and cons first before we talk about it. So anyway, the pros of the division: great AA, pretty self-explanatory. Great close air support, pretty self-explanatory. And you can spam lots of infantry and artillery. The cons of the deck: everything else. Pretty much every other aspect of the deck is pretty subpar. Your recon's okay, but Luftwaffe Fusiliers, they don't get any vehicle recon, and the Luftwaffe Fusiliers are pretty expensive. Your tanks is abysmal. Your support, you got some stews, but that's really it. Anti-tank's a joke. Your artillery's nice. You got a lot of artillery, but it's all soft targets. It's no armoured targets. Like, armoured artillery pieces are mobile. And it's really the meta at the moment. Having a mobile artillery piece is preferable, because you can move it around. If it gets counter-batteried, it's going to survive because it's on an armoured chassis. And this, you get like infantry, but they're not really that great. They're good for holding and buying time, but that's really it. And so, really, its entire division, historically in game, is designed for defense. It's really, 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 really tough to attack with this division. Very tough. If you get more than a +2 in a 1v1 with this division, hats off to you, because I think that's almost bloody impossible, as you have no real mobile units. You're slow. You're very reliant on waiting for 88s and really 88s to move up and getting aircraft strikes to force enemy tanks to surrender. But in a team game, the silver lining of this division, and even though this division is one of the worst 1v1 divisions in game by far, one of the worst, in team games things get flipped around a bit, because this is a very good division in team games, because it's a support division, and they're very good at supporting your allies, because you have enough anti-air to cover a 4v4 map for sure. If you're not throwing away your anti-air units, you can spread out those Flak 88s and Zeppelins and Nags and all of those over an entire 4v4 sector and shoot down shit. You can set up a really scary anti-air net in a team match. And also you have a lot of good close air support planes, which you can use to help support your other more offensive teammates to help push up. So, if you use them in a 3v3 or 4v4 with a coordinated team, aka you're on like voice comms and you're all good and know how to support one another, you're not just playing 4 separate 1v1s, you can do really well with 16th Luftwaffe, really bloody well. You just hold an easy area to defend, you just get to the 50% line, and then you just hold it and try not to lose that line while sending money and support to help your teammates. As in a 4v4, you can completely shut down allied aeroplane divisions, 101st SAS, 6 Airborne, etc., completely shut them down and make them worthless. Because if you have Typhoon ATs and B-26 Marauders just keep getting shot down, they're going to stop calling them in, and you just essentially neutered the entire division from being useful. And that's what makes 16th very good in those specific situations and in those team games. But when it comes to 1v1s, we are still going to be seeing a 1v1 replay once we get to the demonstration. And I do actually win. Surprise, surprise. I was debating on throwing a 4v4 replay, but it's not really that much interesting going on for 4v4 16th Luftwaffe. You just hold one flank, and then you're just buying anti-aircraft units everywhere and sending in the J-188s to blow up an armoured column so your second Panzer player can make a crazy sea-phase push with all the Panthers he's managed to accumulate. But, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say for the deck building aspect of this division, so let's see how they perform in a 1v1. Alright, and we're back, and this is a 1v1 on Samont Levant, if I am correct. And we have ourselves Duro SVK playing as 16th Luftwaffe, and Chicken playing as the 2nd Infantry Division. Looking at Duro's deck, not too many changes, less of the heavy machine guns, more tanks and more anti-tank guns, and more AT-8s, because you have to be more self-reliant in the anti-tank department around my team-based deck I showed you earlier. I'm really focused. If I get heavy tank spammed, I'm really going to be calling my buddies to be, hey, please send me a Panther to help me out. Less on the aeroplanes, but more focus on ground forces, artillery, etc. I mean, it's not really too many ways you can really cut or slice a 16th Luftwaffe deck. It's, you know, pretty samey in the end of the day. So for this map, this is already pretty good for Duro SVK. The map is more favoured towards his side, as the left side of this map is better than the right side, easier defensive positions, and really the best thing Duro SVK can do is get a plus run and hold it for dear life. The Sherman's going to be a pain in the ass. He does have a B1 and A phase, which can be good. Hopefully he gets some AA out to cover. And all of his AA is really just flak 88. I mean, he's got one of the Nags and one of the flak CV lanes. But that's really it when it comes to the smaller caliber stuff. But I guess that's all you really need. Those Nags are pretty self-reliant by themselves. He's going to be getting into the forest, got the artillery gun shooting, because it's really just buying infantry early on, so you can afford to get the artillery gun right off the bat. And also acts as an anti-tank unit, like keep bloody sane. And he's sending a lot of flamethrower troops and other infantry into the forest, as he wants to hold out the forest for dear life. Even though second has ranger assaults, and his ranger assaults, I think, don't stand too much of a chance against many light Luftwaffe pioneers and flamethrower dudes. He's always doing some blind fire into the forest to try and panic him a bit, or he's not getting any hits. But Luftwaffe pioneers, what they have to do is get off a grenade. If they can get off a grenade, and they do pretty good. And flamethrower troops, when they get the first shot off on the shots, yo, they don't survive the encounter. Second one comes in. Luftwaffe pioneer getting pinned down. But you see, whether you're disheartened or not, you know, a Beidalung, I don't know, a big bloody demolition charge will do the same amount of damage whether you have 3-star or no-star veterancy. It's one of those things you can rely on. And left side, he's just holding. Not going to be pushing. He's got a nice little defensive position. His Luftwaffe Jaegers do pretty well against the rifles and long range. Actually, the rifles kicking his ass a bit. They're probably going to run out of ammo soon because the bar does not have much ammo. Hi, it is. I mean, I guess being disheartened doesn't help out a lot. But he does have the forest, which is the main thing under his control, and it's just 50-50. We're really just going to keep his replay at ×2 for the majority, because this Luftwaffe, it's really slow. It's really slow, it's really boring, there's no crazy, like, panzer pushes, you're just holding. You're pretty much barely holding on to the ground that you got for the majority of the match. He's slowly pushing right hand side, and this is a good area for him to push, as he's got forests to cover his infantry, or he's going to start getting pounded by a 60mm mortar. hopefully he gets his AT or artillery gun online to try and deal with it. You know, I think his artillery gun is a little bit far away. He does know where it is, putting it down on marker. So maybe it's gonna get bombed or artillery, who knows? Who knows? Yeah, this has to get machine gun shots from the mortar. It's a little bit far away. Yeah, he's just holding. He's bringing in the Messerschmitt bomber. And that should knock it out. One fell swoop. And if he's in a pretty good position here, because he can capture his right hand side if he just, you know, surround it from the right and attack from the bottom here. There is already put some Luftwaffe Jägers and Fusiliers. That's going to be enough just against rifles in the open. And this, okay, here we go. I was about to say, Chicken Dude really should be using his Sherman and vehicles much more aggressively. Because there's really not much that can phase your vehicles early on. I mean, there's the 88, but you can easily see that coming. There's the Panzerschrecks, but if you know, screen in front of rifles, you're good. And Pak 38s aren't anything to worry about. So you can be pretty confident in using these vehicles. And Chicken Dude knows that. And he is pushing hard with the M4 and the M7. And Duro's just buying time. His infantry says just to get shot at and to slow up his Sherman and DD from moving up too close. We got another M7 DD. Nice thing when fighting against Luftwaffe is that you don't really have to worry about buying anti-tank guns or really anything anti-tank right. I mean, he's got some 6-pounders here, but what is there to 6 pounds in A-phase against Luftwaffe? Maybe some rear French Bren carrier knockoff and some FT-17s. These 6-pounders are kind of erased. I mean, this one only fired one shot. And it's probably just against a infantry unit before it unloaded. But Chicken Dude's just getting more rifles onto the front line. More infantry, and he's slowly just pushing. He's not making much progress. It does help that Duro is fighting against more of an infantry division. And it's not like an armor division like Desert Rats. I mean, fighting Desert Rats in A-phase as Luftwaffe, you're going to lose those first 10 minutes. There's nothing you can do against a really aggressive Desert Rats player in A-phase as Luftwaffe. You're buggered. You're just buggered. Unless you can Panzerschreck all the Stuarts and Stackhound and Cromwell, or the Cromwell low armored run, you're pretty much buggered. So it is favourable that he is fighting against an infantry division who, you know, it really comes down to the riflemen being in front first and taking ground, and the riflemen are a bit slow. You know, he has managed to take his left hand side and he's going to get that slow +1 point advantage. Do you have a Flak 88 here to deter any tanks from moving up? They're not in the best position. And the Flak 88 on the right hand side too. And considering there's no real artillery on the field, those Flak 88s are pretty safe. Sure, he is managed to get some ground on the right side. You know, it's going to be slow. He's going to have to wait for infantry to make it to his tree line before really capturing that tree line. Bringing in the bombers. And the bombers are really going to be the saving grace, as they can stun up the tanks. Almost stunning up the Sherman completely. Bit of a shame he didn't get the full-on fallback on it. But actually, you really do with those bombers. So that's what I find I end up doing with them. Even though in my deck I don't have as much dedicated AT weaponry in it, you just kind of bomb all the tanks that move up, and you just buy time. You're just buying time. Yeah, he's using them for strafing runs, which is very good. Might as well get the most out of him. Now he's getting artilleried. Oh no, he's getting shot at from the M7 DD. And he is actually, I want to see, is he doing the trick? Oh, he's doing the trick. So I want to show you the trick you can do against 88mm. This M7 DD is actually out of range of the Flak 88, which is good for the M7 DD, because what you can do is that you can fire on position right here, just in front of the Flak 88, and because this has a 38 meter AoE damage, you can actually still hurt it from over max range, and the Flak 88 can't do anything about it. He can't do anything about that. So he's just gonna have to take it and take it out. And because the Flak 88 takes more damage against ground targets, it gets easily pinned down. It allows the M7 to get in closer to get direct shots, where he can do serious damage in. And that's the problem with using Flak 88. If your opponent knows that strategy, and it has like M7DDs or 5-support crom rails or M4 105s, you're fucked. You're just fucked. And that's what I mean about the 88. You can't really afford to use him in a frontline position, as it is risky. It's very risky. As you want to keep him alive, and you want to keep him alive is the major thing. I mean, if you do use him as a frontline unit and it gets shot up a bit and forced to fall back, you can pull off frontline position, keep it back. You might as well have an alive 88, and a dead 88 that only managed to kill like one tank. You know, it is getting to B phase. We're on B phase, and Duro, he's getting stews and stugs. You know, the few armored vehicles that he has to try and push back. You know, armor to armor rise, he's not going to be doing well against 2nd Infantry. And 2nd Infantry's got Wolverines, as well as lots of Shermans, and they just fare better off. But for now, Duro, he can use his, you know, tanks, or assault guns, I should really say, to help take back some ground. And take back ground he shall. And he's bringing up all the infantry to move up. You know, it's going to take him a while to take his tree line. And Chicken do, he's getting howitzers, because this is how you beat 16th. You just get artillery. You just need artillery. As you can bash at the 88s, and he's going to be forced to fall back. And thank God this is only rifles and not half tracks, for example. Yeah, I think it's not going to matter. He's going to get a surrender on the 88. Oh, no, but he's going to be able to fire on it at close range and chase it down. Oh, if he loses it like that, that's not good. But as you can see, if you allow your opponent to make a breakthrough, they can take huge swaths of territory. Huge swaths. Thankfully, it's only rifles, so they're going to be slowed down a bit as they have to finish the rest of the marathon on foot. And that's going to buy time for Duro to get the machine gun as well as 242 out. And we've got Gabby on the field to try to shoot down the aircraft. Yo, nice thing about 16th, if you keep your, you know, anti-air battery alive, such as the 1 Flak 88, even 1 Flak 88 and a 1v1 can be the difference between life and death for your aeroplanes. So if you get the anti-air net up, you can be pretty safe that your airplanes are going to get out of a bombing run that they're going to do. I mean, if you allow your opponent to get too much anti-air and shoot down the airplane before they can escape, then you kind of buggered in that regard. But if they're relying on aircraft to shoot down your airplanes, which is what most people do, you can be, you know, rest assured if you get the right amount of AA that you can stop him. And we're getting another Flak 88 in the middle, where we can see quite a few more of these Flak 88. M7 goes down to 109, but he doesn't evac towards his AA, so he gets shot down. And he can't really be afforded to lose in those bombers, as they're very vital to, you know, knocking out those VIP targets and just stopping pushes. You'll get a bit of a dilemma here. Whereas the dilemma for Chicken Do is he's completely surrounded now. But it's also kind of a dilemma for Duro, because these are all units that can easily just be captured if he had some sort of armoured vehicle just rush up, or cheap, you know, armoured vehicle like a half-track or etc. But he doesn't really have that. So he just has to kill them really slowly, one by one. Pack 38 does terrible, because it's the Pack 38, what did you expect? Against Shermans, against all things. So all he has is 1 Stung and a Stew to fight against 2 Shermans. Yo, actually, he might be able to get a Faustratron shot. Nope. Chicken Do smart. He's going to be pulling back. He knows not to just run in really nearly with tanks. Yo, it's not looking good for Duro. He's still losing. And he needs to catch up by 600 points. We're going to be in C phase. And this is where things get ugly for 16th, as they go back to 100 points per minute. And I mean, Duro could still win on a +1 advantage if he was to start getting a plus run in the next 6 minutes or so. But after that, you're kind of buggered, as you cannot get a +2 with 16th. It's really tough to get a +2 16th. And as you can see, it's really quite brutal playing 16th Luftwaffe in a 1v1. As you just don't have much. You don't have many reliable units that you can rely on to deal with tanks. Really, it's just deal with tanks. And now he's got artillery, but they're going to get counter-batteried by the American arty. I mean, his artillery can outrange it, but he's just a bit too close at the moment. It is actually counter-battering already. He managed to counter-battery one at least. But it just comes into a game of battleships, and he does manage to kill one. Means these heavy Russian guns are no pushover. T-38 strike. Messerschmitt gets shot down by a thunderbolt. And we've got Stu in the middle, which is just rocking house again to see 6-pounder, because there's nothing there to really stop him. We start seeing some 2-star Wolverines being brought in, and it's really not much a Duro can do against a Wolverine at max range. If he manages to get his slugs close, then he has a pretty good shot at killing it, but at the same time, Wolverine is 2-star veterancy. Well, his slugs only, they have no star veterancy. Roll +1 of the leader unit nearby. Does do a B3 run, you know. He doesn't have enough AA, it seems, to keep his aircraft alive. Oh no! Oh, just enough. Just enough. That's really quite lucky, yeah. If I was Duro, I'd really invest in getting like a NAG or Flag CVL in on the field. But Stug's gonna come around. But as you can see, it takes forever to get shot in the Sherman. That's what happens when you got a turretless tank, and the second Stug gets a kill, but the Wolverine's gonna be coming in now, and that's not gonna be pretty. Duro, he's at a plus run. If he can just hold his plus run, he has pretty good map control. His town is a very nice defensive position to hold on to. And 16th does pretty well in towns. They're not the best in towns, but with Luftwaffe Pioneers, they're beefy enough, you get just enough of them. And also, you know, they throw big bloody grenades to keep infantry at bay. But yeah, nothing's really happening. This is 16th Luftwaffe. Not going to be pushing, you're just going to be waiting for Chicken Dude to make the first move now. Because he's at a +1, he almost got a +2, yeah, he's really close to getting a +2. I would have gave me a bit of a heart attack if he managed to do so. But now he's just getting 88 mils onto the left. Try to keep those Wolverines at bay. But this is 16th Luftwaffe play. You just hold. You just hold. I mean, it's at the very advantageous map for him, especially being on this side. I think in a lot of other maps, like Coville, like Omaha, Point de Hook, you'd have a harder time. But because he's got a very nice defensive barrier here, I mean, his forest is essentially his rest rule or secret line. But as you see, we almost got a breakthrough here. Oh my god, my Xbox controller died. That's not good. There we go. Almost the Sherman man's a breakthrough, but the 88 stops him. And now he's just going to be trading, you know, 88 with Shermans. As once they get spotted, they just get blown up. And it's pretty fortunate that Chicken Dude isn't using a lot of recon. I want to see what Chicken Dude can see over here, because... Okay, he can't see the 88s until they shoot, because he doesn't have recon. Which is good for Duro. We're finally seeing some xylophones, which is going to be perfect counter. 16th is brutal. It's brutal to play in a 1v1. You have to be a bit of a masochist, or masochist. I can't say the word properly in my mind. Managed to kill the xylophone with artillery, because the xylophone didn't move after shooting. Because he's not really killing stuff. I mean, he's killing some riflemen here, but he's just mainly getting him to fall back or trading. He's just trading his infantry to, or just units to stop the enemy from pushing. And he really feel out his 16th, as the stuff isn't great at killing. Like, he's got a bunch of rifles coming, and the pioneers, they don't manage to stop the push, but the Focke-Wulf does for now. And it's going to buy time to get the second pioneer up to trying to stop the rifles again. You're just buying time. You're trading lives for times. I mean, this is definitely pretty accurate of what the Germans were doing towards the end of the war. You know, trying to hold on to every last piece of ground that you got, but you keep getting pushed back because your forces are inadequate. Yeah, but pretty much Duro just managed to get a plus run towards the end of the game. He just holds it long enough to get the victory, and that's how you play 16th Luftwaffe in a 1v1. It's pretty boring. There's not really much to it apart from just getting the artillery spam out to try to stun them up, getting the airplanes to stun them up, and that's really it. He does get pretty good KD advantage. I actually want to see what the hell he killed. I think, damn, yeah, the Stu definitely knocked out a lot of riflemen, yeah. And the B3 helped out. B3 is actually pretty decent in a 1v1, and considering that Chicken Dude didn't get a lot of aircraft on the field. But yeah, that's 16th Luftwaffe. It's brutal. It's a really brutal division to play. In team games, not so bad, as you're really just relying on your teammates to come in and support you with tanks and etc. You know, vice versa, supporting infantry and aircraft to help them push up, as you have very good supporting units. That's 16th Luftwaffe. I really do not know what else to say, so we're just going to leave it at that. This has been another Steel Divisional overview. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as usual, please just take it easy.